Hello and welcome to another episode of my Let's Play World of Tanks, and I really haven't focused on anything in particular recently, so I figure I'll focus on a little bit of TDs, and just the different uses and strengths and weaknesses, etc, etc. So, starting off, I'm with the S-35CA. It's the French Tier 5, really awesome tank destroyer. It is actually really overpowered once you equip it with a bigger gun. I'm not too sure which one I want first. More than likely, I'm probably going to go with the 10.5 or the 105mm, just because that does some extreme heavy damage if it penetrates. But in the meantime, I'm running with the stock gun on this thing, and it's not bad. I still have yet to upgrade it, but I mean, just with the engine and tracks and everything else equipped, it isn't too bad. I don't mind it at all. It does do pretty good penetration for its tier and mildly decent damage. I'm not too worried about it. But, I mean, it's probably no match for the higher tier guns that it can have access to, either the 90 or the 100. So, still working out which one of the two I'd prefer, but needless to say, I'm pretty happy with this tank. Even though it is a freaking bathtub, it is kind of a cool tank. And I'm sitting here taking a lot of bounce shots, but I mean, this thing is one tank that you're TD, that you really need to keep in cover. And that's kind of the thing about TDs, is they're really an ambusher type unit or a long-range sniper type unit. Rarely is a TD an assault gun that can actually run up and do heavy damage and keep moving instead of staying still and doing his job. But I might get to that later. In the meantime, though, the S-35CA is not bad at all as a sniper. It is rather accurate, even though it doesn't look like it on my screen, because my crew is 75% instead of 100. I mean, this gun is not bad. I don't know what the next two level guns can do, but the 90 looks crazy accurate, and I'm not too sure what the 100's like, but I'm sure I'll find that out soon. I kind of want to do both, but I think I'm going to stick with the 100 for now, unless it's highly recommended I go the other direction with it and go with the 90. Instead, I'm kind of using this thing as an assault gun, which I really shouldn't. While it does have kind of rounded sloped armor, it's not exactly a tank that I would recommend bringing to the front lines. This bathtub really is meant to stay at the sniper's range. That's kind of like the point of a TD, is to hide in the bushes, use your camo to your advantage, wait for your perfect shot, take it, wait for your camo to re-engage, and then continue that way, taking shots at weak enemies as you go, not, you know, struggling to go and find targets and have to deal with slopes of hills and everything else, because as you saw, I kind of tried to go up over that hill, and it did not end well because I have no downward traverse, and not without a turret, it's not like it would help me anyway. So back down it and realize my place, and so I'm heading back to base here to go and defend, because I'm the only one back here, minus the heavy that's way back over in this corner over there. But yeah, so as a TD, you're really kind of a midfield to long-range type of guy. You want to sit in the back, you don't want to bring yourself up to the front. Even with the American turreted TDs, you can get away with it, especially the T-30, because you could play it just like the T-34. But it's one of those tanks where you really need to be very cautious with. You need to really plan out where you're going to go and make sure that there's terrain and cover. Whereas right here, I'm kind of in the open. I'm trying to get a little bit of a bit of concealment behind some stuff, which hopefully this bush is somewhat concealing, as well as the hopefully I'm behind some sort of a building. I don't think so though, because I'm getting hit. But luckily I'm able to bounce some stuff. Now, focusing down this big heavy target's kind of like my primary, because the KV-1's the biggest threat here. I light him on fire and I'm good to go. Now this ARL is another issue though, because he's what is he? It's a tier above this bathtub actually, so he's a pretty strong tank. But you know what? Able to go through him, good to go. And again, this tier 5 TD is probably one of the best tier 5 TDs that I'm aware of. I don't want to say it is the best, but I would lean that way. I'd heavily lean that direction that this is one of the best TDs at its tier. Definitely better than the American options, and, well, obviously better than the British option, because that isn't an option. But the German one, the Stug's alright, it's not bad, but this one has access to much better guns. And then the SU-100 is not bad. Oh, was it an 85? The SU-85 is not bad either. Has access to 100mm, or used to, rather. I don't know if it still does or doesn't, but I like this 35. This one's a really nice tank and has some great options. So, let's move on to another TD. So here is probably my least favorite TD so far, and I hate to say that too, going from probably the best tier 5 TD to what I want to consider one of the worst TDs. That isn't really fair, but this one, it's unique in many ways. The SU-100M, which I actually did end up finishing, thank God, and can finally move into the, what is it, SU-122-44, or whatever the next one is, 34, something like that. Oh no, it's the 101. Fantastic. I need to try that one out soon. I need to get some credits so I can buy that. But this tank is kind of unique in the fashion that it isn't really good at its tier. It can penetrate most mediums at its tier, can't penetrate many heavies at its tier, and it just struggles in anything where it gets placed above it. Like right now, I'm alright. I could easily penetrate a Tiger, that's not a problem. Tiger P, don't really stand much of a chance. Some of these other tanks though, ooh, it's gonna be rough. That SU-152, yeah, probably if I get a good flat angle. The 122-44, not so much. But, you know, most of the other things, like on my side, the T-29, I have the option of penetrating the hull. There are ways around it, but overall, if I get placed against the tier 8, this thing really, you need to really aim for those weak spots. And it's really hard at range to be able to hit the weak spots on tanks. It's kind of a crapshoot, and you have to almost hope for the best. But in terms of this tank, like I said before, you really want TDs to be in the midfield to backfield acting as sniper tanks, which is what they should be doing. And kind of what I'm doing in this 152 here, as he's kind of just sitting here in the open. But in terms of anything else, this tank really isn't suited as a sniper. I'm just lucky I'm facing things that are my tier, but if I were to go to higher tiers, I would not recommend doing so. I would have to almost choose a different target, or move on to something else, because this 100mm is not very good at penetrating. So where I said most TDs need to be a sniper, this one almost is strange in the fact that it is a flanking assault gun, because of the simple fact that it is such a quick mover, and the gun penetration, while it looks good on paper, just doesn't offer the punch that you would think. Just like that. I know it is a quick snapshot at that Tiger P, but against the standard Tiger, I should have been able to go through. And again, hit him for nothing. So it's one of those where it's like, I don't bother going against the Tiger P because I know I can't do anything to him. So this tank is, as I said, it's very unique in the sense that to be effective, you have to be very aggressive with it. And that's not typically how you want to play a TD, especially a Soviet one, because Soviet TDs are not known for their armor until the very high levels. Now luckily this Tiger P turned around the other direction, I'm able to go through the back end of it. But in terms of the front, there's no way I could ever go through it. Now I have this 3-4 to deal with, which is not a problem. Luckily for him, I miss, but he runs into a wall, so that's going to really hamper him as he has to now back up and go around. And I'm able to absorb that round, I think I just did. But either way, yeah, I was able to absorb that one, go through, because it's a 3-4, I should have no problems. But this Tiger P, oh nuts, it's going to hurt. So, lucky for me, his snapshot missed me, and I was able to get him through the side, but if he wants to come around and angle his armor, I'm in trouble. But like I said, this thing does have the speed that I can react any which way I need to, and or I can move around and get away from stuff. But on its own, I mean, again, this is not a true TD, and without a turret, it isn't as useful as some of the American TDs. So this thing, tied probably with the T25/2 in terms of its effectiveness. I haven't played the T25/2 yet, but I know that it's not exactly the most apt at taking out its target, and I love how I call for help and there's no one around for me, and the Tiger alerts me to that fact. Now, as you can see, there's a artillery piece that was nice and able to hit this guy and burn him out for me, otherwise I would have been in trouble. But now I couldn't have probably taken that tank on normally on my own, because again, this thing not being able to really flank, or not being, being able to snipe and hit the weak spots at range. I'd have to either be close and be able to target the weak spots without him deciding to come up on me, preventing my shots, or I'd have to run as a very aggressive flanking assault gun, which is just awkward and very hard to do in a turretless TD. So, overall, I'm done with this tank, thankfully. It was a decent tank, but overall, there's much better out there. So let's hope that the 101 is a little better than this thing. So, going from a great TD at its tier to a hybrid assault gun flanking something sniper TD thing, to now a true assault gun slash somewhat of a mediocre sniper, the ISU 152 with the BL10, which is just absolutely devastating when you hit. The thing does get a little squirrely at range. I mean, I've had problems where it just veers way off course, but again, I've also had matches where the thing is dead on every time I aim it. So it's kind of squirrely, and the RNG for it is just weird. And I mean, there's even been games where I've hit as low as 500 with this thing and as high as damn near 1,000. So the BL10 really is a unique, interesting gun that it's fun to use because you never know what's gonna happen. Some days you're gonna get rewarded, others you're just gonna get frustrated with it. But overall, I absolutely love the ISU 152. So far, one of my top favorite TDs slash assault guns. And the nice thing is, the ISU is fast enough that you can use it as an assault gun where you can, when I say assault gun, I mean you can actually rush ahead, shoot stuff, not have to worry too much about hiding back in the distance and sniping, but you can actually get up there into the thick of things if needed. But here's an example of going squirrely. So yeah, not even close to dead on, nail it in the track for 0 damage. Now, of course I sit here like an idiot and reload and reload and reload and reload, but once I finally do get that 15-second reload off, nail him for damn near 1,000. And that's the squirrely thing about this tank, is it can 0 damage a guy, it can bounce, it can penetrate and take off almost all his health. It's just complete random. And so getting hit again, killing my gunner, but there you go. Again, I shoot 0 damage against him when I just before penetrated and did right about 1,000. So it's kind of a mixed match of randomness involved with the BL10, but it is overall, I'd rate it as super good. Now, I gotta duck behind stuff because I got lucky I didn't just get aced by that T-34, that he just hit me in the track for 0 damage. Now, simply put, yeah, you can't get luckier than that. Thankfully, Vaughn is near me with his 152 and is able to take out that 34, otherwise I would have been dead. Because this tank has 0 armor whatsoever. Do not expect to bounce anything. Look at just how flat that the tank surfaces are on this thing. While it does have thicker armor, per se, at its tier, most things are going to penetrate it anyway. So if you're like top tier and you're going against tier 6s, then yeah, sure, you might bounce a thing here or there. But against its tier or even tier 7s, do not count on that bounce. Almost guarantee that that shell is going to go right through you and that you're going to take a pretty large hit. Because yeah, these things all have nothing but flat surfaces. And there's nothing you can really do about it but just absorb the hit and try and negate the chance of hitting you by ducking behind cover. Now, thankfully, that little super Persian was looking the wrong direction, because I just put a shell right through his face, and that was what our super Pershing needed. And that's just the power of this thing, is it can actually damage a super Pershing, whereas a lot of tanks have trouble without having to, you know, aim specifically at the turret and get the right spots on it and not shoot it in the body where it just absorbs rounds left and right, so on and so forth. So, just, I cannot get over just how powerful this ISU is, and also how flexible it is. As I stated earlier, as an artillery shell just lands right behind me and kills the Conqueror, I can weave around anywhere I need to, because this thing's just a little finesse of a tank. It really can fit in where it wants to, it can do crazy sorts of stuff. I mean, it's fast enough, it can go anywhere I need to across the map at a relatively decent pace. By no means is it cruising like a 52 or a, what is that thing called, a T-50 TAC-2. but it certainly is able to destroy anything and everything I need to, and it's also able to get up and move if I need to reposition within a short distance or short time. Now, let's see if I can't weave a shot in and take out this 34. He hits the rock, thankfully, because again, otherwise I'd be toast. And I'll just skip one right off the top of his turret, and that's all I need. Plant a giant shell right on top of his commander's hatch like that, and then one less T-34 that I need to worry about. So just have this 54 I'm worrying about, and then all sorts of artillery and other fun toys that I don't want to deal with. But yeah, now we have our AMX mule up there, as you can see, in Kurgan, running up to go and capture or take out artillery. I just have a low back here and a 54 to worry about, so nothing major. But with Von and his BL-10 and me and my BL-10, we're doing upwards of 2,000 damage in a combined strike, or anywhere between 5 and 900 individually, and that's just such an extreme range that no tank really wants to deal with you, to be honest. It's just so much power that you have at your potential that it's just not worth it's really hard to want to stare down one of these things, even though you know you can penetrate and damage it, because if they get that shot off, and I know I take a while to let my shots wind in, because I like to make sure I'm going to hit, and that's why I have such a high hit percentage, is because I like to make sure. Again, look at that squirreliness of the round, it just kind of coasted right over top of them. But the sheer squirreliness of the rounds, but yeah, I like to wind in as much as possible, make sure that I'm going to hit my target before I do anything. And so, like that, catch him on the move so he doesn't touch our super Pershing again. But overall, it's one of these, it's just such a great versatile tank that, hey, there's just a 95 and a T30 over there, so we decided we're going to go ahead and charge up that we both have the ability to do so, whereas the 95 would not be able to just arbitrarily say, hey, I'm going to move up. Now, a tank with 35 hit points sliding down a hill is the scariest thing I ever have to live through, because plenty of times, as you might have seen in the last episode, I managed to jump off a hill in this exact map and crater myself. So it's very easy to kill yourself coming down hills. You just really got to have a little finesse there. And again, this tank is fast enough that, look, we're able to just cruise across the open ground and get to our positions. We're trying to flank this T-95, but we're in no necessary rush to get up there, obviously. We don't want to have him turn around and decide to smack either of us dead in the face. And then apparently this Black Prince has this T-30 tied up completely, which is uncommon. So the biggest challenge here is coming up this little ridge of a hill for both of us, but we're going to do it no problem, just because of the mobility, speed, and horsepower of this ISU. And the main difference between the ISU and the 704 is the armor and slope that the 704 has, and that really greatly reduces the reaction speed and ability to climb and everything else that that thing has over the ISU. So it's kind of a trade of speed and mobility for armor, and yeah, so it's an interesting little trade there. But anyway, I want to thank you guys for tuning into this episode of my Let's Play. I hope you guys kind of got to see a little bit of different uses for TDs there, between mixing a true sniper to using an assault gun to just the crazy silliness that is the 100M. So, thanks for tuning in, guys, and I will catch you in the next episode.